Good afternoon and welcome to the Federal Executive Forum celebrating 20 years of profiling excellence in government IT mission programs. I'm Luke McCormack. During today's show, we will discuss progress and best practices with customer experience programs and strategies in the federal government. With me on today's show are Janet Pence, Director of CBP Experience, Office of the Commissioner, U.S. Customs and Border Protection; Barbara Morton, Deputy Chief Veteran Experience Officer, Department of Veterans Affairs; Bill Tinson, Director, Federal Electronic Health Record Modernization Office, which is a joint DoD-VA office; Ken Gonzalez, Director, Solution Architecture, Connected Experiences, Verizon Business Group; and Tim Flower, Vice President, DEX Strategy at NextThink. Janet, we're going to start with you. Last I counted, you got over 60,000 employees worldwide doing a lot of things 24/7. A lot of opportunity there to enrich that experience, and then you're working with the public, et cetera. Give us a top line as to when did this organization get formed, and how are we doing over there?
Good afternoon, everyone. So we started in the customer experience realm about 3 years ago, and I was privileged to get tapped on the shoulder to lead this effort. And we are one of the largest law enforcement agencies in the world. We are currently at about 67,000 employees. We enjoy seeing the traveling public at a rate of about 1 million passengers per day. And we are the second largest revenue collector in the federal government. So we take in a tremendous amount of duties, taxes, and fees associated with both imported and exported merchandise into our country. And so as the designated lead for customer experience, I decided to focus on where the rubber meets the road in terms of the processing of passengers and also the processing of international goods and services. So I've been laser focused on our popular Global Entry program, which is a program enjoyed by many trusted travelers at airports around the country, as well as our automated commercial environment associated with the processing of international goods.
Fantastic. And what a great program that is. If you're not part of that, you should make sure you join that because it's one of the best programs in the federal government, I might say. Bill, how about over at the Electronic Health Record Modernization Office? A lot of activity going on over there. I know there's some incredible headway. Give us a top line as to what's happening there.
Well, the real focus, the Federal Electronic Health Record Modernization is about getting a common federal electronic health record deployed for all the beneficiaries of the military health system, the Veterans Health Administration beneficiaries of, and other agencies, right? We have Homeland Security in the form of Coast Guard, we have NOAA, and we have a few other partners that have joined the common record. But from a experience perspective, where we're really focused is what the EHR, the electronic health record, unlocks, right? I mean, I heard an analogy yesterday that we have the Veterans Health Organization up on a mountain surrounded by a fence that is the IT systems, and we have the DoD, the Defense Health Agency system up on another mountain surrounded by their own IT fence. And then we ask the military members to take a bag of bricks and get over to the other side, and there's a massive chasm in between them. What we're trying to do as we deliver a single electronic health record is make that an easy transition. And it's not just about the health record, it's about the benefits, it's about experiences that happen in DoD and what they mean and what they translate into commitments that we as a country have made to these people as they go through their veteran experience. So it's all about, if you picture that, getting rid of that chasm between them, breaking down the fences that are the IT, and enabling those two massive and incredible health systems to effectively work together and focus on the patient instead of taking everything from an organizational or an IT perspective and shifting that focus. So very exciting stuff we're doing, Luke.
Yeah, really focus on the veteran first, right? And then work your way back. And
Luke,
the visual that you're describing is incredible.
Well, Luke, I like to think it's not just the veteran, because we're starting as first contact with the military, right? Through the veteran experience. So
Good catch.
It's focus on the person. Well, and I make the catch, and I'm sorry for doing it to you, because we all have this tendency to approach the problem, right, from our organizational or IT perspective. How do I
from one mountain?
How does my IT program extend? Yeah, exactly, from one mountain. So let's not talk about the mountains. Let's talk about the people.
Yeah. Very good catch, and we really do appreciate that. And the visual that we now have all cemented in our head there. Ken, how about over at Verizon? You all are in a situation there where you're seeing this perspective across the entire community, right? And the good and the bad, what's working, what isn't. Give us a top line as to what's the state of the of play out there right now.
Oh, hello, Luke. How are you? It's nice to have me here. To be here. It is very interesting because I just don't get to see only what happens on the federal side, but I also see what happens on the industry, on the commercial side. So I get to see all sides of the fence and see how there are certain pieces that are unique to what we do on the federal side. There are certain problems that are universal. Data and handling of that data and making sure that that data is protected and it is accessible and it is usable by the user is critical. It's where all these IT organizations, what Will was saying, how protected that data needs to be because of the sensitivity and the nature of it, meets the end user and how that end user needs access to it or the system need to provide that end user what they need and the way that they need it, not necessarily like Will was saying, the way we envision them they need to use it, but how they really need to use it, whether that is health records or whether that is access to any of the things that we do. From the perspective of what we see also, the data moves into, at the end of the day, it's all about the customer experience, and the customer experience goes first. How the users go and how our generations are dictating how that interaction with the data, with the agencies have to be. I'm used to pick up the phone and try to call and speak with everybody that I can, right? Whenever I'm trying to solve for a problem. But some of our newer generations are really about, let me text, let me see how can I get access to what the information that I need on my own. And only if I really need to, I will talk to somebody. And it is interesting that we have to cater to the mission to the mission, but at the same time, we have a very unique and distinct way of communicating that goes depending on generation, depending on the use case and the mission that we're serving, and we have to cater to all of them. So it is a pleasure and really interesting to see how it all plays out, and we get to sit down with different agencies and work and try to solve that problem with them.
Yeah, it's interesting that you point that out and you talk about generations. I will confess that I consider myself in the dinosaur category these days of sorts. But I'll tell you, when I have the ability and the offer to chat or text, that's typically how I do it. And when I do, if I end up having to pick up the phone, I want to make sure that that fusion is being done between what I just went through for a half an hour on that chat and now have to follow up on a phone call. And so I'm expecting that stuff to be tied back on the back end. I know that you all are working very hard and putting a lot of tools in place to do that type of thing. Tim, let's talk about NextThink. What is NextThink? Where do you all fit into this ecosystem? And then just give us a top line, because you're a world dominator, and I don't think a lot of people know this about what you all do in the DEX space. What is DEX, by the way?
Yeah, we're the 20-year-old overnight success, as they say, right? It's DEX stands for Digital Employee Experience, and our founder 20 years ago said, you know what, I'm going to start looking at all of this data on all of these distributed computers and start to do some AI analysis of the experience of employees. Technology for decades has been all about provisioning of tech and not consumption of tech. And I became a customer back in 2013, decided to convince Pedro to bring me over in 2014, and have been running here for just about 10 years, spreading the word of what DEX is all about. So it really is a focus, as Bill said, on the employee and not so much on the technology. What's the impact of technology on the employee? Are they able to use it productively? Are we disrupting them with interruptions like blue screens and slow logons and such? So NextSync is laser focused on the employee and the impact of technology. Before I get into kind of some of the nitty gritty, though, I want to take 30 seconds and give kudos to Janet's efforts. As a global entry participant myself, I'm always amazed that it gets easier every time I come back into the U.S. So Janet, thank you a ton for the work that you do. We're seeing across the globe, really, large enterprises tackling and really knocking down this long-standing hurdle. I experienced it firsthand in enterprise IT, and it's this complete lack of visibility into the EUC environment that we support. So let me give you, I think the analogies play well here. On a recent business trip, I slipped and hit my knee on a cobblestone sidewalk. After a few weeks of denial and the pain not going away, I decided to go see the doctor. The only way for him to know what action to take was to send me for an x-ray. And without that visibility inside my knee, he's only guessing of what might be going on. So the progress I'm seeing and what's happening in enterprise IT that's equally translatable to federal government is moving away from guessing, right? The react and respond, the trial and error operations, they don't scale anymore. And in fact, it's even a risk to survival of the brand. And when you focus on your internal employees and make life better for them, you're also making life better for your customers. So a direct connection from employee experience to customer experience. As an internal IT person, our first area of focus for employees were the customer-facing ones, because they have direct impact to the experience of our customers. So that was job number one. And the one metric that I stand on, and the big reason I made the shift to come over here, was an 82% reduction in level 1 help desk tickets at our help desk, $2.5 million OpEx save year over year. And the benefits just grew from there. So I felt this huge desire and almost a need to come help spread the word, and I'm happy to be here today.
Really do appreciate that, and interesting example that you're using there as far as the little bit of forensics and analysis to understand what's going on. We actually had an individual on the program, I think last time, that talked about the call centers, and when somebody's calling in, the fact that they're facing an individual's got 4 and 5 screens that they're trying to rattle through and give this person an answer, and that's just not a good experience for the employee, and thus not a good experience for the person calling in as well. All right, let's go over to you, Barbara, and just talk about veterans experience. Veterans Affairs, an absolutely huge organization, lots of customers, internal, external. Give us a top line. You've been on a journey over there. You've been on a tear. Give us a top line, state of the state as to how that effort is going.
Well, I appreciate the opportunity to be here. I'm very proud to report that our trust metrics directly from veterans are telling us that they trust us now more than ever before, which is wonderful. And that's really our North Star. As you mentioned, we've been on this journey for about a decade now, a little over 10 years. And we started, kind of with a grand idea of wanting to make sure that the organization could be much more focused on execution around the people that we serve. There are a lot of requirements, as we know, in government of, bureaucratic processes and things of that nature. But the whole philosophy behind our office and this work is really to center around the person, the veteran first and foremost. And so over the years, we've sort of grown, matured, we've leveraged industry best practices, we've brought those into government, adapted them to sort of create the first of its kind program, certainly here at VA over the last 10 years, and one of the first in federal government. And what you can see is a trend line of trust, which I mentioned is our North Star, a KPI that we have measured since 2016. And our measure of trust from veterans telling us how they feel about us started at about 55%, and now it's up to 79%. So really a testament, I think, to the frontline employees at VA all across the nation to really center again around the person and not just focusing on what we deliver, but how we deliver our services. So it's been an incredible journey, and I'm surrounded by wonderfully passionate public servants who love delivering on this promise.
It appears like it's working, and that is fantastic. And I'm sure that all of the folks, the beneficiaries, are enjoying that enriched capability. So hats off to all the hard work going on over there. And Bill, I know you have a lot of good examples of the different things that you all are doing as you're rolling out this capability. Love for you to highlight an area of focus that you all have been able to implement a capability there that's really unlocked some of this experience that we're all looking for.
Well, Luke, you probably guessed where I'd go from our prior conversations, but I have to go to what the departments have accomplished at their most integrated site in North Chicago. So what did we do there? It's a facility that serves veterans and military beneficiaries both. It also serves the Navy sessions location, the recruit station at Great Lakes, where all the new sailors come in. It's the only recruit station that the Navy has. They, since I think 2009, sometimes I get that wrong, it's been a long time, is the key, have had this joint mission, and they've executed it fantastically. It's a VA-led facility. But what have we been able to do with the EHR, with the firm, and with other partners? We've unlocked their ability to view their patients, their beneficiaries, straight as people, not as beneficiaries just to the organization. So we did that by removing friction from the operations there, right? So administrative things, and the firm didn't do this. The firm identified the problem or got it attention. It's simple as sharing calendars and email because the facility is staffed by DoD and VA employees, right? It's led by VA, but it has military, uniformed military members. They support that Navy mission, and they couldn't share emails or calendars. So the director and I think he's the deputy, the Navy captain that is number 2 there, they couldn't share calendars. They can now. So we broke down. I mean, that's basic stuff.
That's food, water, and shelter.
And they've been operating like that for over a decade. And then we came in with the Federal Electronic Health Record, right? And we brought that in, and that, it eliminated Alta on the DoD side and Vista and others and CHCS on the VA side. It eliminated Vista, and it allowed them to operate as a team. I'm always careful about this. They already operated as a team, but it eliminated a lot of the friction, a lot of the brain power and personal effort that people needed to exert to operate as a team, and allowed them to focus on the people they were serving, right? So how does this become, a user experience? It's because it improves the ability of that facility to focus on the people they're serving instead of making their processes from 2 different departments operate together. So what does that really do for us? Well, it unlocks 2 things. It actually unlocks a lot, but I'm going to tell you 2 things. It eliminated so many friction points and barriers that we continue to learn and identify new opportunities as we go forward to improve the ability of the 2 health systems to work together in ways that are appropriate. The other thing is it creates a baseline of capabilities that we can bring forward to existing and future joint sharing sites between the 2 departments, right? So if you look at the VA schedule coming up, I think they intend to, in 26, they intend to deliver the Federal Electronic Health Record in Alaska. Well, DoD delivered in Alaska several years ago. And actually, when DoD was approaching Alaska, the VA and DoD locations there said, hey, we need to go together because we rely on each other so much that you're going to break things if you just shift one of us to this new record. Now, we didn't get that done, but we're about to shift the VA side onto the Federal Electronic Health Record. And we have the experience that North Chicago brought to the table, and those workflows so that they can work better together at that location. So I'm very excited about what we've done there, and I'll just toss this in at the end, Luke. Everything we do at the firm is about how do we focus on getting the users, the providers, the clinicians, the right tools so that they can focus in turn on the patients and create the right medical outcomes, improve access to care. That's why the firm was created, to wrangle the IT so that the two departments can make decisions about how to support the people they serve better.
Amen. And it's working brilliantly. And I certainly do appreciate it on behalf of all those that are in dire need of this capability. We're going to take a short break. We'll be right back. You're listening to the Federal Executive Forum on Federal News Network. Welcome back to the Federal Executive Forum on Federal News Network. We are talking about customer experience. Just getting into specific examples, we had a fantastic one. We went from calendars to electronic record sharing between the Department of Veterans Affairs and DoD, which was amazing. Ken, let's talk about Verizon and a specific experience. You touched on the fact that you all have visibility and lots of experiences across the government interagency, and you certainly do in the private sector as well. Give us an example that you'd like to highlight.
Absolutely. So I have had the pleasure of interfacing with the United States Postal Service for quite some time. We have been providing their customer experience platform, and
very big organization, I might add.
Yes, it is, and interesting pieces. When we looked at customer experience, we typically only think about outside, but in reality, a lot of that customer experience is internal. Anything from when you call the IT help desk and you need help, all the way to somebody calling and saying, "What is my package?" or "Can I buy stamps?" So when you think about the customer experience platform for the Postal Service, you're really talking about 11 different contact centers within the environment. Obviously, the one that is the most visible is the 1-800-USPS. So we have taken them from a journey where we had that platform running on site, and now we are pretty much about almost 90% moving them into a cloud-based platform. And everything that entails on that migration from, the benefits of the computing and elasticity, Postal Service gets really busy at the end of the year as they have to handle a massive amount of, number of packets, right? But after January 15, that goes down. So therefore, the needs and the benefits of the elasticity that, the cloud has to provide, right? But as part of this journey, it's been also introducing and allowing them to benefit from AI, virtual agents, and any of those flows that would allow a end user to interface with them without necessarily having to talk to a real agent. As we know, folks that are facing external agents are they are very precious capital. So therefore, there are certain flows that belong into somebody just going and getting the information they need and out. So as part of this journey, it's been really good to see the evolution, not just of how the integrations are made when you are making integrations into a customer experience platform and you are on site. It is quite easier than if you are going to be taking those away from within the boundaries of the physical boundaries and take them into a virtual boundary within the cloud. So all of these have made it for us to have a really good journey for them, where we are pretty much almost there, completed, and they have never skipped a beat through this process. So moving them to the cloud, helping them implement AI, and we continue to figure out any other ways that we can help them not only provide really top-notch experience for the end users and internal users, but also explore any new ways to unlock efficiencies and optimization of processes.
A tectonic shift in that technology being introduced, and really a tectonic shift in the capability that you're going to be able to provide both internal employees and external customers. So really looking forward to that, and seeing that incorporated into these various platforms is amazing.
But you said something earlier, and that is very important. When you call in chat and you want to elevate that call into an agent, you want that to be seamless. That concept of an omni-channel consistency is so important for our experience as a user. That you authenticate yourself once. Hey, I am Luke McCormick, and I am calling because I need to do this, and somebody else can pick up that you in fact have been the same identity through moving from chat into voicemail or into
100%.
that is so critical, and that is something else that we have achieved at the Postal Service.
Fantastic. Really do appreciate that, and hats off to my good friends and colleagues over there at the Postal Service. Janet, going to roll back over to you and talk about specific programs. Maybe you can profile something. I definitely want to make sure that we talk about global entry. We've mentioned it a couple times on it. It occurs to me that there's probably people listening that don't know what global entry is. So I want to give you a moment to describe what global entry is, and then maybe highlight some other capabilities, profiles that you have in regards to customer experience.
Thanks, Luke. When travelers arrive at airports, you have a couple of choices when it comes to both TSA and Customs and Border Protection. For TSA, for example, some of us are enrolled in TSA PreCheck, and others are in the regular TSA. And you know that they're divided into two lines, and it's really based on, from a DHS perspective, are you known to us in advance, or are you relatively new to us? And so Global Entry is a program for known travelers. So what you do is you register in advance. And so Janet Pence submits some information. I go in for an interview, and I become what's called a known traveler. So they pretty much know Janet. They've done vetting on her. And as an agency, we're pretty comfortable that Janet Pence is low risk. And as a low risk traveler, I can enjoy a much expedited process normally when I come back into the country again. So I normally pay for this service, although a number of credit cards will offer services like that as a benefit if you get their credit card. So it's the program has grown exponentially in popularity, and we know that as a paid program, we want to deliver that. We want people to get what they've paid for as far as outstanding customer service. So I'd like to stay on the topic of global entry and talk about the way we're focusing customer experience, which is a concept around time back. And it starts with, I want to ping off what Tim said in focusing on the employee. The reason we are called CBP experience in CBP and not customer experience is we're putting CBP first in the equation. And so for global entry, for example, we first focused on our officers that are performing the work associated with global entry. And so we got some key folks together from both the field and headquarters, and we had a workshop, an all-day workshop, and we talked about what customer experience is, and then we talked about global entry. And we looked at our as-is process. We looked at some of the problems we're having or the glitches. Where do applicants get caught up in the application process? What problems are we having at entry? And we developed 119 recommendations from the officers that were both focused on streamlining things internally as well as helping the customers on the external side. Now, we don't just rely on CBP employees, of course, to get information about global entry. As important is to get that feedback from the traveling public. But really, with this time back, from a CBP perspective, we call it time back to mission. And our initiative is to measure that time back to mission associated with technology insertions. So we'll look at a process and we'll measure the time we spend on the process. We'll insert a new technology, and then we'll measure again. And from that, we are able to get that numeric indicator of how much more efficient we have become. Now, on the public side, CBP, it's time back to mission. And with a workforce of 67,000 employees, if theoretically, if we saved 1 million, if we saved 1 minute per employee, that's a gain of 67,000 minutes. So it adds up pretty fast across a large workforce. Now for the public, I think of it as time back to life. So a good experience with CBP is an efficient and a expedited experience. And so when I go to airports now and I watch people coming in using global entry, a lot of times they'll come through and they'll say, "Wait, that's it? I'm done?" And it's the delight on their face that they've had a seamless, quick, efficient experience is just a beauty to behold. And so that's what we're really aiming for. The same thing with international trade. We want to keep that freight moving. We're focused now on things like perishables. The longer strawberries or tomatoes sit waiting to be cleared at the border, the less fresh they are. And we all want fresh tomatoes and fresh fruit. And we want our goods. We want those things we ordered on Amazon. We want them quick. And so we understand that we play a vital role in the supply chain. And again, we are focused on that time back.
That's fantastic. And especially for like international travel, these folks are coming off an aircraft. They've been on it for 10, 9, 12, 15 hours, right? They've got 2 kids. They're gassed. They want to get through the process and get on with their lives. So hats off for you all for getting time back to mission. I love that term. Tim, let's talk to you about a specific example.
Yeah.
Again, a global player out there now working in the federal market as well. Give us a nice juicy example of where you all have been able to introduce this capability and really unlock some fantastic experiences.
Yeah, I love the flow because I can build right off of where Janet left off. So I am 95% sure I'd be able to use their name, but I'm going to err on the side of caution and just
Okay.
call them broad sector consumer goods, aerospace, building automation, energy sector. They make my thermostat, if that gives you some clues. But you know, most of our customers, and having been in IT, we look at employees as customers, right? When you're in IT, you're servicing a customer, even though they're an internal employee of the business. It doesn't quite work all the time. Customers have choice and employees don't have choice in IT. But when you look at employees as customers, it changes the level of service and the level of kind of the dedication that you give to them. This particular global conglomerate took a 3-phase approach that we have advocated from our very early roots. And that is very simply, fix your existing environment. We know our end user compute environments are broken. Employees are calling the help desk all the time. Use proactive measures to see what's going on out there and don't depend on them to call you. Go fix it. Phase number 2 is stop breaking it. I always say everything IT touches breaks. It's just a matter of scope and scale. So use AI and automation to stop breaking your environment. And number 3 is govern and manage the adoption of new technology. Are employees using it? Is it performing properly? Is it being consumed the right way? So this particular large-scale corporation used those 3 phases, and through AI and automation, proactive measures, I'll focus on the benefit to their employees, to the business. They returned, when talking about time back, they returned a year to date. This was a metric that they gave us in October. They returned 800,000 hours of productivity back to the business. So in and of itself, it's a big number, but I like to take it to the next step. Let's do the math. A typical employee works about 2,000 hours a year. So at 2,000 hours for a full year, and we'll use a very low number these days, 100K fully loaded, it's an FTE value of 400 people. Think about 400 employees or service members or hospital staff coming into work all day, every day for a full year and doing nothing. That's the value that they gave back to the business. So it's the ultimate no-show job, right? You've got this hidden cost of business because you're wasting so much time disrupting your employees. And let's look at conversely. Consider the initiatives you could undertake, like the things that Janet talked about, if you were suddenly given the capacity of 400 new people. The amount of downtime because of technology disruptions or the failure to adopt let's face it, the rate of change today in enterprise IT and for our employees is mind-boggling. Things are changing left and right, and people can't keep up. So when you use a DEX platform to actually look inside your environment, kind of that analogy of looking inside the knee, go see what's wrong proactively and use AI and automation to take care of it for you automatically, and stop bothering your employees. And this particular business, 800,000 hours of productivity back to the business. It's I talk about that stat all the time.
Remarkable. And so many times an employee that's having a problem will then go to another employee and then tie them up as well to try to fix the problem. And then they're calling the help desk. So
And only half of
hats
the
off
employees,
on
only half employees call the help desk anyway. You got 50% of your problem
absolutely.
that's hidden. Yeah.
Barbara, let's go to you and talk about a specific example. You talked about an overall trust factor that went up dramatically. Would you like to highlight a capability that you've been able to illuminate, unlock, and really enrich that experience?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think, there are a number of examples, but one that I always sort of like to highlight is the patient experience program that we established. And this is something that was sort of our call to action when VEO was established back in 2015. The office was established, born out of a crisis, an access crisis at the Phoenix Medical Center. And what we wanted to do is really make sure that we can incorporate how we serve our veterans, families, caregivers, and survivors by listening to what they needed and designing our service delivery around that. And so patient experience was ground zero, so to speak, something that had never been done before. We built this program starting in 2017 with our wonderful siblings and experts in the Veterans Health Administration, frontline employees who deliver services and are eager to deliver services in the best way possible, and also really understood in the interactions with VA in a healthcare setting, what matters most to veterans, what was most important to them, what were some of the pain points that they experienced. And that's kind of how we started and designed this program using that methodology, which was very unique at that time in terms of how we thought about ourselves at VA and certainly government as well. So patient experience program, again, started with human-centered design. We created a journey map. We understood where we needed to focus our resources to improve different points of that journey. And then we co-designed a variety of tangible tools, because one of the things we realized early on, you can create a journey map, you can, talk to veterans and document their thoughts and pain points and bright spots, but you have to operationalize the data. You have to operationalize what you hear and translate what you hear into actions you take. So a huge part of this was developing an entire suite of customer experience, patient experience tools and trainings, communications products, toolkits to really empower the frontline employees to know how to deliver the best services based on what veterans need from us. And so that's kind of where we started. We rolled out, a number of different types of trainings that teach empathy, and really that kind of when you're nose to nose with a veteran, you need to look them in the eye. You need to sit down with them. Things that are actually a lot of like low tech solutions, but just slowing down enough to sort of really orient around the person rather than sort of the bureaucratic process that we may be surrounded by. And so that's been, I think, an incredibly successful program. Outpatient trust, which we typically report, is now up in the 90% agreement, which is, again, an A. We aim for an A for those that we serve. And so I think that's been an incredible proof of concept for us year over year.
Fantastic. And it sounds like a lot of good results and outcome from all those initiatives that you've been able to insert there. All right, we're going to take a short break. We'll be right back. You're listening to the Federal Executive Forum on Federal News Network. Welcome back to the Federal Executive Forum on Federal News Network. We are talking about customer experience, and we are going to get into priorities for the remainder of 2026. Janet, let's start with you. Top 2 priorities for 2026 as you work your way through the year.
So I'd say number 1 is related again to employee experience, and what I'm very excited about at right now in our society is up until now a lot of technology advancements were in the hands of technologists. And we would document user requirements and throw it over the fence to software developers and sort of wait for the magic to happen. However, more and more there's a democratization of these tools now, where a lot of employees at the grassroots level are able to themselves start developing and deploying no code and low code solutions. And so what we're seeing within CBP is this movement that we call grassroots innovation, where if you have a unique problem at the Port of Buffalo, for example, and you have an officer, that officer is able to develop a quick automated solution, again, that will result in those efficiency gains and not have to wait for IT to build you some mammoth system. Because as we know across our country, in terms of our locations, is not all problems are universal. There's a lot of local nuances to our processing. And the fact that the automation has shifted, that's empowered us now as they call them, sometimes they referred to as like citizen developers, so, or employee developers. So we're very excited to nurture that community, give the training to our employees to enable them to start using technology to get greater efficiency gains. And then in the second area that we're also excited about is, of course, the explosion of AI and the impact it's going to have on helping us achieve mission effectiveness and helping us secure the border and meet our overall agency goals.
Some tectonic technology that will really enhance the capability. And no doubt, what's going on in Buffalo is not the same thing that's going on in El Paso. So I think you all learned that a long time ago. So hats off to all of you for the excellent work there. Tim, how about in your area, top priorities for you all? What's the must do in 2026?
Yeah, so I think if you follow some of the analysts, the Gartners, the Forresters, they're all saying that if enterprise doesn't take this proactive IT approach, you're going to be either commoditized or replaced. And it's real encouraging to hear others on the panel talk about the huge benefit or the huge progress being made in federal government focusing on the employee. I think 2020, the remainder of 25 into 26 is all about that shift from react and respond to proactivity and focus on the employee. So,
Yep.
and it's more than just the technology, right? It's a focus on, and one of the panelists said it, operationalizing it. You can have the best shiny new tool, but if you haven't fully adopted it and operationalized it into your DNA, it's just a shiny tool sitting on the shelf. So our focus, our real priority is making sure that technology is operationalized the right way.
Yeah, I think there was Barbara that was double tapping that concept. Makes so much sense. Bill, how about over there? Top priority for you this year?
Well, thanks, Luke. I was just listening to all the other panelists, and it's heartening and exciting to hear the thinking that's going on, because we're talking about customer experience today, and I'll get to the priority, Luke. And I don't think you get to customer experience the way we need to, unless if you think, purpose, goal, strategies. If you look at an organization from that perspective, customer experience has got to be up in the purpose element. It can't just be a sidecar team that is deploying a portal, right? So I hear that in everyone else's comments. And that's where at the firm we are focused. That is our priority, is the people that are served by the VA, the DoD, the Coast Guard, NOAA, and our other partners. And how do we drive that focus on those people? And we do it through our charter on interoperability, so that the operational interoperability, so that those healthcare delivery organizations and associated roles that those organizations have don't feel the IT. If we're doing it right, the IT recedes into the background, and it's not about the IT anymore. We don't talk about tools. They manage their focus and their mission the way it needs to be managed, irrespective of limitations brought about by the IT. And then I can't, you said two, so I can't emphasize this enough. To unlock the power of what we're doing with the single common federal electronic health record, VA needs to get deployed. And VA, pay any attention to the news, as an organization is laser focused on how they get that done in an accelerated fashion. And we at the firm stand ready and are engaged in doing everything we can to help the VA succeed in their endeavor. 13 sites next year, a schedule for the rest of the deployments, because that unlocks the power, that allows the IT to recede into the background, that allows operational interoperability, not data exchange, but operational interoperability, so that the people that run the health systems, the people that are focused on providing the best services to the Americans that we support in the military health system and in the Veterans Health Administration, can be the focus, not the IT, not the mountain.
Absolutely. And I know it's
defense.
job one for them. I know everyone's looking forward to that. So really do appreciate it. Ken, number one priority for you all in 2026?
I would say that the number one priority is to figure out how to make, or continue to figure out how to make all of what we do transparent, both to the internal user and the external user. And as we are leveraging AI, I think that the real most important thing that everybody's trying to figure out is how to do that responsibly. It is easy to fall in the trap that, we'll take this and we'll have AI concoct something and magic on the other side. But we have to do that with security in mind. We have to do that with making sure and validating that the models are producing the right results, especially when it is external facing, when we are providing a record or recommendation or anything that is of critical importance. So for us, really is about, if we are moving towards a world in which we're looking for efficiencies and we're looking for better experiencing, and AI is part of that journey, we need to make sure that our customers are understanding really well how they're classifying their data, how they are using these models, and how these models actually are going to produce the results that are expected, where they become a help, where they become a better experience and not another problem that we need to fix.
Fantastic. Barbara, number
Yes.
one priority for you this year?
So I don't feel like I can be a good student and just pick one. So I'm going to give you a couple if that's okay.
All right.
I'm overachiever, right? So one of the things I'll share is, I think there's a sort of how we manage the business in VA, and the opportunity inside the four corners of our organization, I think, is really more deepening the integration of all points of customer feedback. So whether it's through surveys, social media, contact centers, really kind of having that three-dimensional picture of all that feedback, and of course layer that on operational metrics and performance. So I think this is a moment in time. Of course, AI is coming online even more so than ever before. I think really unlocking the power of all the points of data that we have collectively in VA, and frankly any other agency, and really facilitated by the power of AI. I think that's going to be transformational. I feel like there's going to be a lot happening in that space over the next year. But on a more tactical and sort of programmatic level, you've heard the secretary talk about, there are opportunities to enhance the contact center experience. And so I think that's a really huge opportunity for an organization as large as VA, with many different phone numbers, many different contact centers, really focusing in on how we give the best experience. So a veteran or other caller, family member, caregiver, survivor doesn't have to know what the right number, the quote unquote right number is to call, but can get the service they need in a very seamless way. So I think there's some opportunity there as well. And then finally, what I'll say, of course, our agency priority is always going to be reduction and elimination of veteran homelessness and suicide. So there are lots of dimensions in what we're going to be focusing on in the next year.
Super important topics, and we really appreciate the laser focus on that. All right, folks, we're going to have to wrap it up. And we always like to end with this question about just let's fast forward. 2 years from now, 2+ years from now, we don't like to get out to 5 years. It's just too long. What's it going to look like 2 years from now? Tim, we're going to start with you. What's a demand signal coming out of your customer base, and what's the focus going to be then?
And so as a company, Nextthink is really doubling down, as you could imagine, on AI and the ability for assisted and smart automation to help manage our environments. And really the goal, I would say, for the federal environments is to continue to build the momentum that's being made, and also not forget about the basics. So I want to piggyback a little bit of what that future looks like by building on some of what Barbara talked about in healthcare. We're in some of the, if not the largest healthcare providers in the country, hundreds of thousands of employees, a couple of them with over 500,000 employees. I can't imagine managing an IT environment that large, but it's so complex and complicated in that space. The federal environment has to be more complicated as well. So that move to proactive IT with visibility allows those healthcare providers to focus in very much the same way the mission that they're trying to achieve with people, right? The healthcare strives to create healthy, productive society. And in doing so, if you eat healthy, if you exercise, if you stay out of the emergency room, not only are you a more productive human being, but you're also less of a financial burden on the system itself. And the same thing goes for IT. So the future of IT has to be healthy, well-maintained systems that not only provide higher productivity for employees, they cost less operationally to support in the long term as well. So it doesn't need to be science fiction. It doesn't need to be AI coming in as the easy button fixing everything. If we focus on stability, reliability, predictability, I love the concept of IT being invisible to people. It should be like the electric outlet, right? It's just on and it works. I don't need to know everything that's going on in the background to do that. And shifting from being that reactive, I shouldn't have to call the power company every time my power goes out. Same thing goes with IT. And once we do that for our employees, it translates over to customers. I think the future is all in those words: stable, reliable, predictable. It's not about replacing people either, right? AI is not coming to take your job. It's about augmenting human capability, reducing friction, empowering people to focus on the mission and not the mechanics.
Absolutely. Keep IT out of the emergency room. I love it.
Yeah.
Ken, how about at Verizon? Fast forward a couple of years from now, what's it going to look like? What are you all going to be focusing on?
Well, piggybacking on the AI, I think that in 2 years, we're going to be in a more stable and understanding of what the capabilities that are going to be available for use on this environment are going to be. We perhaps will be diving into agentic AI and some very automated type of flows where applicable. And again, the key here is this is not applicable everywhere, right? And it is definitely an enhancement of the human capital that we have, right? But another big piece here and has to be how to do this in a way that that handles the data properly. That part of security and preventing hallucinations and all these different things is going to be critical for this to be usable. And let me put it this way: you may have a model that is providing a patient's information, and we may get it right 99 times out of 100, and that's unacceptable. There is no margin of error when we're talking about human care. There is no margin of error when we are providing directions to folks that or we are mission critical. So we have to do that, and the way that we get there is by really collaborating and really understanding data flows, taking the input where it needs, and validating and making sure that everything that is done it's really ready to be put in front of production. Right, so that's key for us, is to make sure that we implement these technologies, responsibly. And I think that in 2 years we'll probably be more closer to that.
Really looking forward to that. Bill, fast forward 2 years from now, a good part of the rollout will be done at VA. What can we expect at that point? Once that's in place, as you described earlier, what's that environment look like?
So 2 years, Luke, is pretty near term. But as I was listening to the others describe what they expected, it occurred to me that I have young children. That's probably not true. They're not young. I have young adult children. And they ask me questions about how do I plan for my future? How do I become a success? And my answer to them is always, well, what you do is you prepare yourself today, and then you seize opportunities when they present themselves. You don't know what those opportunities might be, but the key is preparing yourself today. So I think we will be focused on preparing ourselves, getting the data right, removing obstacles, making the IT recede into the background, and then we'll see opportunities that we don't see on the horizon yet, and we'll be able to capitalize on them. And I'm going to give you an example of one that's happened recently where technology really overcomes the obstacles if you've done your homework. With the Federal Electronic Health Record and with the DoD program, there's a tremendous effort focused on deployed medicine. How do we support soldiers, sailors, airmen, Marines when they're not in a connected environment and doing their jobs, including on ships? Well, Coast Guard is one of our partners, and the DoD hasn't delivered that capability yet. But what are they going to do? Well, it seems that Starlink has overcome, technology has overcome the limitation for the Coast Guard ships. So we're able to deliver the record as it stands because technology has enabled us, provided us an opportunity, and we're prepared with the data. So we're going to deliver the Federal Electronic Health Record to all the Coast Guard ships with the connectivity through Starlink. An amazing outcome. I think we're going to see technology, if we prepare ourselves, we're going to see technology, be it AI, be it things that we haven't conceived of yet, drive us to a focus and an ability to focus on patients, customers, pick your word, but the Americans that we support with the Federal Electronic Health Record.
Get back to the basics, be prepared. I love it. And we look forward to that. Barbara, let's fast forward 2 to 3 years from now. You all are on a journey there. You're on a tear. What's your expectations 2 years from now?
So I think my aspiration, my dream is that veteran trust in VA continues to grow and surpass. We've reached 80% a couple of times. We're now at 79%. I would love to see that continue to grow by leaps and bounds, because ultimately, to me, that is sort of our North Star measure, making sure that we
You're
center
listening to
around
the
the
Federal
person,
Executive
earn
Forum
their trust by
on Federal
delivering our
News
services in a
Network.
manner that is most efficient, effective, and useful for them. I think the other opportunity for us too, and again, AI is going to be an incredible, powerful enabler and augmentation of sort of human interaction and sort of work. But I always want to caution that, you know, we need to be able to remain sort of centered on empathy, at least in VA and healthcare space in particular, and not losing sight of the person in our delivery of services, even though it's going to be enabled by wonderful technology. So lots of opportunity as we grow to be even more efficient and effective, and excited to see the results 2 years from now.
I'm excited as well, and thank you very much for all that you're doing. Janet, if I'm a freshly minted officer, gone through the training, I'm now out at delivered to a let's say a border crossing. You know, what can I expect to see? What's that environment going to look like 2 to 3 years from now?
So it kind of, for us, it comes back to national security. And one of the things we need to stay a step ahead of dark innovation, because we know that there's a lot of adversaries out there that have a lot of ways to circumvent things like international trade laws. You know, it's very important to our mission to guard our citizens against things like counterfeit goods and unsafe products. And I think the technology tools are going to increase our capacity to secure the supply chain, have a lot more visibility into that supply chain so that you know the coffee that you're drinking this morning comes from where you think it comes from and not hasn't been transshipped through another country or tampered with. So in the trade space, for example, keeping Americans and our citizens safe remains our top priority. And we're so excited about the opportunities of these technology breakthroughs to help us not only meet that security mission, but through that also deliver better customer experience because, through that national security and through faster processing and that time back.
We really do appreciate it. And I want to thank all of you for taking the time out of your busy schedules to join us for this program. I'd also like thank all of our sponsors for supporting us on this show. I'd like to thank the good people here at Federal News Network that make our program so successful and enjoyable. And most of all, I'd like to thank the listening audience out there that tune in every month. You've been listening to the Federal Executive Forum, part of the Federal News Network.